So Blue Paradise? Fuck me. So Blue Paradise by Zerobaseone. This is the era I'll be discussing today because, in short, it reinstilled my faith in Zerobaseone as a group. I'll be honest, my expectations going into this comeback were low. After Cinema Paradise, which felt pretty mid overall, I was kind of bracing for impact. I liked the title track, Good So Bad, sure, and Insomnia was a solid B-side, but most of that mini-album fell flat for me. Even Kill the Romeo, which I've grown to tolerate, has ad-libs in the chorus that genuinely hurt my soul because of how grating they are. Whether it was because of the filters they used or the directions that they gave the members to deliver with, it's easily one of the more grating songs that Zerobaseone has. And half of the chorus is ad-libs. So, yeah, morale was shaky. But Blue Paradise? This was the comeback that reminded me why I stand Zerobaseone in the first place. Zerobaseone has never been an experimental group, but honestly, I don't want them to be. What they do best is lighthearted, pleasant pop. Not boring, not repetitive, just clean, well-crafted songs that explore new textures without breaking what already works. And that's something I think we've been missing in K-pop lately. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that this is actually the second time I'm reviewing one of their projects. The first was for their third mini-album, You Had Me at Hello, back when I was just starting this whole YouTube thing. Back then, I ranked all of their title tracks and mini-albums, so I figured I would continue that tradition after I talk in depth about Blue Paradise. With that being said, this album feels like a return to form. It echoes their debut sound from In Bloom, but older, more textured. It's a matured version of their original concept. And while Zerobaseone isn't an experimental group by any means, that doesn't mean they're stagnant. And they've played fast and loose within those boundaries in ways that still feel fresh. I honestly love that. We don't always need a groundbreaking concept to be good. Sometimes you just need good, basic pop music. And that's what Zerobaseone delivers on. Visually, Blue Paradise fully leans into, well, blue. But what makes it interesting is how each track feels like it explores a different shade of it. This is more of my own interpretation, but I genuinely think the emotional palette of the album runs a spectrum. Darker blues on tracks that hint at obsession and addiction, lighter, gentler tones on songs filled with sad nostalgia and the ache of growing up. And throughout it all, love, which isn't surprising since Zerobaseone rarely strays from the topic. Promotion-wise, they're sticking with the dual song promo format from debut. On one hand, we have the title track Blue, a dreamy, nostalgic dance pop number. On the other, there's Devil Game. Each song has its own distinct visual style, and I wish I could say the styling matched the ambition. To get what I'm getting at, let's talk about the concept quickly. The sets on the music shows are great. It's always some variation of this ethereal VR meets blue utopia thing, along with the music video that features landscape morphing, tech, video game bit visuals that are genuinely beautiful. But then for the performances for their comeback, they just put the members in like a t-shirt, jacket, and jeans? Jeans? Like actual denim? Supposedly, we're doing dreamscapes, surrealist lighting, digital immersion, and for some reason we've got the boys in jeans? I will go to the Wake One warehouse myself and burn that shit down. And yes, I do have a grudge about this because they've always done like boy next door looks that were like boring and repetitive, but it was like maybe 1 out of 10 that was until Cinema Paradise, and now they have jeans glued onto their legs. Please, put something else on them, anything. Well, maybe not anything, because if it's not jeans, it's just black clothing. I remember seeing the first comeback stage for Blue, I'll put it on screen, and they're just wearing black suits. They don't even match their own set on the music show. Like, the production team and the styling teams just don't talk to each other. Somehow, they look out of place and awkward on their own stage. Anyway, personal rant over. On the flip side, Devil Game gets the usual all-black treatment, because if you wear anything but black during a sexy stage in K-pop, they will apparently decapitate you. So it's fine, safe, and expected. Styling-wise, this era was a bit of a miss, and even then I'm being generous. But I will say I did like the album jackets. The photo concepts were ethereal and magical, really pretty to look at, and totally on theme with the title. Now that we've got the aesthetics and visuals out of the way, let's finally talk about the songs themselves, starting with Blue. Like I mentioned before, this is a dance pop track that immediately reminded me of In Bloom. But instead of that forward-looking, hopeful energy from their debut, Blue is about looking back. It's almost mournful in how it reflects on past hopes and what's been lost, but not in like a dramatic, gloomy, mopey kind of way. It's soft, bittersweet. A heavy-hearted look back that still manages to be lively thanks to its faster tempo and light production. Honestly, I didn't expect to connect with it in the way that I did. But the more I listened, the more it made me think about my own memories, so now I can't listen to it without bringing up those feelings again. Next up, Double Game, also known as Kill the Romeo's hotter, older sister. And don't try to argue with me on that, argue with the wall. This song absolutely stole my heart immediately. It's got all the hallmarks of a good, sexy K-pop R&B moment. Breathy ad-libs, heavier vocals, the dramatic instrumental drop before the chorus, which whoever seems to be singing it during their turn goes into this gorgeous head voice, and finally, copious amounts of hip thrusting. Vocally, the standout for me is Tere, period. That man is my bias, and I'm not subtle about it. His voice has this heavy, soulful tone that's rare in 5th gen, like something out of an older K-pop era, and he just really shows up in the final chorus. I'm obviously excluding the unit songs in this particular album, but every song that he is on, he adds this sort of glamorous finish on every finale of a song. And I say let him end every song like that from now on. Moving on, Dr. Doctor was the pre-release track, and honestly, a good choice for one. It feels like a solid midpoint between all the different emotions going on in this mini-album. It's another contemporary R&B song, but this time slower, more melodic. It's a desperate plea for relief from lovesickness, and the production nails that hollow, weightless vibe. The vocals are intentionally thin, almost floating above the instrumental, which creates this really cool sense of detachment. And shout out to Tere, again, but also Matthew and Gunwook. The section where all three of them come in back to back after the first post-chorus, that felt like seeing the gates of heaven. But, and there is a but, the ending of this song is just weird. It skips where the bridge would normally be, as most K-pop songs do these days, and just cuts to this awkward talking section that doesn't match the rest of the song at all. It doesn't ruin the track, for me anyway, but I can see how it would for others. It is super jarring, but I've learned to live with it. Beautiful song. Strange outro. Now let's talk about the units, starting with Out of Love by Jiwon, Zhang Hao, and Given. I didn't catch the One Direction hype in their prime, but Out of Love is how I imagine their discography sounds, and I'm not mad about it. It's catchy, clean, and against my better judgment, I am moving. After that, Step Back by Ricky, Gunwook, and Yujin. My pride and joy, the light of my life, the apple of my eye, the shine to my gem. Step Back is my favorite track on the album, no contest. It's fun, flirty, and way too good for my own sake. And finally, Cruel by Hanbin, Matthew, and Tere. This is where things take a dip. It's not horrible by any means. I could probably enjoy it in another universe, but unfortunately we're in this one, and this track is textbook corporate rock. You know that sanitized, edgy but not edgy, straight out of a commercial sound? That's this. And I refuse to listen to any song that sounds like that. The vocals are decent, but the delivery feels very bad boy adjacent, but in a way that doesn't land. It's not even like toxic undertones that bother me. Obviously they don't bother me, but this song just kind of, there's no better way to say that this song just gives me the ick. It's trying to sell an image that I'm just not buying, especially from these three. So overall, I am really happy with Blue Paradise. It's the most I've enjoyed a full Zerobaseone release since Melting Point, and that's saying something. Because Honestly, Zero Base One has delivered on individual tracks, right? I've talked very briefly about how I wasn't super happy with the two other projects, specifically the ones before this one, but they did have good songs on them. It's just they were also crowded around songs that, how do I put this delicately? They were the kind of songs where I could literally feel the K-pop manufacturing factory working overtime. It just sounds like those K-pop ad songs, you know, like IVE did with Pepsi, I think. I think New Jeans did one with Coca-Cola. That's a level of consumerism and capitalism that I refuse to engage in. I know that I do K-pop and everything, but like I won't even stoop to that level. Blue Paradise is the first time in a while where everything feels more cohesive again. I still wouldn't put it quite on the same level as their first two projects, but it's pretty damn close. In my eyes, at least. Now, let's talk about the negatives a bit. 5 releases in, I feel like I've seen and listened to enough of Zero Base One's music to understand their natural rhythm, what they do well, and what they consistently struggle with. And there's one thing that keeps tripping them up. It doesn't matter the release, it doesn't matter the project, doesn't matter the song. It always undercuts them in a way where I'm listening to a song, really enjoying it, and then suddenly comes the talk rapping, the monotone, awkward, flowless talking in rhythm that gets passed off as rapping. And when they're not doing that, they're shouting. Not rapping with force or like changing the flow or anything, but like I mentioned, there's no flow to begin with, just yelling, like they're trying to brute force impact. Obviously, this is not a Zero Base One exclusive problem, but it is a reoccurring one for them. And to be blunt, Zero Base One's strength is not rapping, it is vocals. I don't know if I would go as far to characterize them as a vocal group. While I do think most of them are very good singers, I would not go as far to say that all of them are. And that's not a dig at them, it's actually quite common in K-pop, especially with larger groups. There's always going to be one member, or a couple members, who take up less and less lines, and who just aren't present as much in front of the group. That being said, going back to the talk rapping thing, Gunwick can usually hold his own. He's not as bad as the others I'm thinking of, and sometimes he even shines in that role, but even he falls into the trap now and again, right alongside Jiwon and Gyuvin, who, let's just say, are very frequent offenders. Another related problem, and I joked about this before, but it really needs to be said, is Zero Base One's insistent on doing these like hard-hitting, badass songs, because it keeps biting them in the ass. Like, Devil Game is the better version of Kill the Romeo. And even that had a predecessor in Solar Power, which honestly, that song is just laughable. I went back recently to my other review of that particular album Solar Power is on, and rewatching where I was talking about Solar Power, honestly, I was very generous about it. I was being very nice. But I think that just as time passed and I've seen their discography as a whole, I can look back decidedly at Solar Power and be like, that should not have been there. That being said, this evolution that I'm seeing from album to album as these types of songs get better and better, again, I do think that Blue Paradise saw Zero Base One refining their palette a lot. So maybe it was good in the end? I don't know. If anything, I'm glad that they're switching to a version of it that they can pull off. Some groups just don't pull off the rougher concepts well. I know people rag on boy groups a lot for doing it over and over again, but some of them genuinely do it well. Others, not so much. That's not a dig, that's just the truth. Zero Base One are not that group, and that's fine. If they are still interested in doing new things, I would not oppose that. I would only say, try leaning into other directions, because this particular lane is just not for them. If I could impart any kind of hopes for them as a group in the future, if they do extend past their disbandment date, is that I'd like them to stick with what they're good at. Embrace their sound, because when Zero Base One does do that, the results speak for themselves. As for my rating, I would give Blue Paradise a strong 8 out of 10. It's beautiful, textured, nostalgic, cohesive, and most importantly, it fucking slaps. Alright, now that we got the boring stuff out of the way, let us finally go back to the tier ranking, which I am excited for. I don't think I really need to introduce the ranks themselves, they seem pretty self-explanatory. We're ranging from My Shayla, which, should I say this? Yeah, sure, why not? I remember when this particular clip started getting a lot of traction online, I started getting more and more paranoid because I was suddenly hearing my name everywhere. But in time, I have grown to love it, in which case it is now the S tier. After that, Gottlob. For mid-songs, we have It's Cardboard, but it's good cardboard. After that, It Insists Upon Itself. And finally, for our last tier, Splitting Open My Skull on Adamantine Shards would be better. I wanted to say would be a more pleasurable experience, but they do have a character limit here. I hate when people limit my creativity like that. Now that we've gone over that, let's get the show on the road. I'm immediately going to put Melting Point immediately in Shayla. That's where it was before, and it has not changed. I really don't know what much more I could say about this album. I love it to death, from start to finish, and frankly, I've been spinning on it too long, so let's move on. Now, in my previous ranking, there was another album that joined Melting Point at the S tier, but it has now dropped down to Gottlob, which is, of course, Youth in the Shade. Don't get me wrong, still love the album, still really good. With time, I've come to look at it from a more objective sense, and I can definitely tell that it's not on the same par as Melting Point. And it really has to do with the intro to this album being Back to Zerobaseone. It's just not a good intro, it's not a good song, but it's also not a good intro. And since, of course, the rest of the album is supposed to be built upon that, it really has a shaky foundation. Again, all the other songs, solid. But as a whole, it's just not as good as Melting Point. Now, another album that has not changed its place. Let's go to You Had Me at Hello. That is still mid-tier. While I've solidified my idea that Solar Power is actual garbage, I have come to reflect on the other songs and realize that they weren't really as bad as I was portraying them to be. Over time, I've just come to realize that both Dear Eclipse and Hello are genuinely good songs, and I need to stop holding myself back from just enjoying things. Now, of course, those are the 3 albums that I had ranked at the time, and now we're going on to 2 new albums. I might as well do Blue Paradise now, since I've already talked about it at length, but it is predictably going into Splitting My Skull Open. No, I'm sorry, I'm not funny. It's going under Gottlob. It did not reach the peak that is Melting Point. In all honesty, I don't know if Zerobaseone will ever reach that pinnacle again. But goddamn if it isn't on the same level as Youth in the Shade. I just want to watch those 2 make out. That's all I want. Now, of course, we're getting down to Cinema Paradise, the last one, and the one that I probably have the most to talk about since I didn't actually make a video on it at all. Again, this really shouldn't be surprising since I've said nothing but negative things about this album, but it is going and Splitting My Skull Open on Adamantine Shards. No, this one isn't a joke, it's staying there. And of course, this is the part where I need to defend myself, so let's quickly go down the track list so I can talk about my feelings about all the songs. First of all, the title track, Good So Bad. Good song. I didn't really get it on the first listen, but honestly, I grew to appreciate it more once I heard it in more live settings. I genuinely think the song is too boring for me to actually listen to it on any streaming platforms. So obviously, it's definitely not on the same level as like In Bloom or Crush. After that, Kill the Romeo. I've already said I reluctantly like that song. In fact, my one-sided beef with this track goes so far that I believe that whoever was producing this song made an actually good song and decided, you know what? This isn't corny enough. I put all this effort into making this actually good. I need to lessen that. I need to lower people's expectations. But I'm also gonna make the rest of the song so goddamn good, nobody has any choice but to listen to this song constantly. Moving on, The Sea, which is a Zerobaseone remake. This song was just boring. There's not really a pinpoint moment in this song where I can be like, ooh, that's bad. But also, have I listened to this song again since this EP came out? Absolutely not. I never will. You can't make me. After that, we get to the one good song on this EP, which is, of course, Insomnia. It has joined my Spotify playlist that I have full of songs just called Insomnia. I'm gonna hit the next 2 ones in the same breath. Road Movie and Eternity, same issue as The Sea. Very boring, nothing to write home about. Also haven't replayed these since this EP came out. And finally, we have Yura Yura, the Korean version. I didn't really talk about Zerobaseone's Japanese releases because I don't really talk about Korean releases next to Japanese releases, but I actually really love Yura Yura. Much so that I actually think it's one of their best songs, if not the best. But, and this is just a me thing, I don't really count re-releases on EPs. So while this is an awesome song, I'm not counting it towards the EP's total score, because different language versions are always just tacked onto the end of whatever mini album a K-pop group is coming out with. So, in short, this EP was bad. I have no qualms being that honest about it. So we've got that out of the way, I'm just going to use the same tier list to actually grade all of the title tracks. So for the title tracks, I actually can do 2 at the same time since they haven't changed from last time, and that is, of course, In Bloom for Youth of the Shade and Crush from Melting Point. I stand by the fact that these 2 title tracks are one of the best back-to-back releases I've ever seen in K-pop. If anything, I will only make this slight adjustment. Yes, Crush is Zerobaseone's best title track, no doubt about that. So after that, we can go to Pop Pop for You Had Me at Hello. Okay, so I actually don't remember what I put Pop Pop on my You Had Me at Hello. I have a feeling it was under Gottlob. It was not called Gottlob back then, but like A rank, I think it was there. I'm bringing it back down to kind of mid. I think that it's still an enjoyable song. I still do like it, but in retrospect, it definitely feels very gimmicky, right? I think that out of all of Zerobaseone's title track, that one will undeniably age the worst. Moving on from that, we of course have Good So Bad from Cinema Paradise. It's mid, but it's better than Pop Pop mid. Ah, shit. No, fuck you. There we go. And that, of course, leaves us with Blue from Blue Paradise. Again, really gave me those In Bloom vibes, and I appreciated it for what it gave me. But did it reach peak? Was it as good as In Bloom? The answer is no. I already said it before, I'll say it again. It's a step down, but it's definitely still top 3. So with that, I've ranked all of the albums and the title tracks, and that'll be it for now until they release another mini album. If they release another mini album, I really don't know what their schedule is going to look going forward. All this to say, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye!